Hi, it's Charlie Seymour Jr., and I'm here with the Reverend Joyce Shin. We're going to learn more about Joyce as she begins as the 10th pastor head of staff here at Swarthmore Presbyterian Church. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
When you first learned that there was an opening for pastor head of staff here at SPC, what interested you so much that you felt called to apply?
Well, I first learned about this opening when I received an email from the Reverend John Buchanan, with whom I had worked at Fourth Presbyterian Church and who has been a longtime mentor to me. And he said to me that the very next day he was going to be having a conversation with the pastor nominating committee of this congregation, and that whether I liked it or not, he was going to recommend me. So it wasn't until I received the mission study report from a member of the PNC here that I could imagine myself being among this congregation because of what I read on those pages.
And he was well known to this congregation, wasn't he?
I learned that there was a history with him, and so he was trusted by this congregation as well as by me. And I do believe that when there's a trusting relationship, I can have more confidence in the work of the Holy Spirit.
Now, I understand you have a little education left. You're working on your PhD. How's that coming? What more work do you have to do before you start here full-time in January?
Well, I have all my chapters written.
Good.
And I wrote them each at different times in my life. And so the work that I have to do is to sew it together and really to make a coherent argument from beginning to end. And frankly, for me, that is a big task because I'm not sure that I remember how to argue.
Ah.
It's not my preferred mode.
Yes.
Of exploring an idea, of constructing and synthesizing an interesting, fascinating constellation of ideas. I'd rather do exactly that, synthesize and construct, but to have to argue a point based on evidence.
Yes.
Is still something that is not my preferred mode of communicating and exploration.
And what's the main topic?
I am in this dissertation exploring how faith can be, but is necessary for integrating our commitments to multiple cultural communities.
You're a strong believer in bringing lots of people together.
I am. What I'm a believer in is that all of us need to be able to integrate all of our loyalties in life, and that if we don't do that, then we have an existence of disintegration. And so it's very important to me that we integrate all of the things that we care most about and the people we care most about.
Well, I wish you good luck on that.
Thank you.
Yes. You've been here now a couple times, and this time for a few days. What are your impressions of Swarthmore Presbyterian Church?
Well, my impressions really began when I read the mission study report. And I was so impressed that so many people in this congregation participated in small groups, and that their concerns and values were beautifully collected and written down. And then you have amazing writers who could write all of those things in a cohesive, moving way. And I was moved by what I read in a report.
Yes.
And that was impressive to me. And then with each conversation I had with members of the pastor nominating committee, and then as I came for these visits and was engaged in further conversations, I just felt like there was a cohesiveness, a coherence to it all, and no I don't want to say disparities, but discrepancies So I haven't come across any discrepancies. So what that says to me is that this is a congregation where the members listen to one another, appreciate each other's perspectives, and have already done a lot of work over time in becoming, in being able to speak not just for themselves, but for the values of others. And so there is already an accumulated cohesion in this congregation. That's what impresses me, and I value that. I value that there's trust in one another, even though, and there's trust in the power of the Spirit, that even though you may not have the same opinion as another person, that when collectively we share our opinions and we really discuss them and listen, that something new will come out of that.
I know that when I've been in church services that you've been there, I've been so impressed with the warmth that you have and that everybody else is feeling for you. Yes. I think that is really very exciting.
You know, the first person who emailed me after this congregational meeting in September was Dick Wolschlager. And his note to me said that Swarthmore Presbyterian Church is easy to love and that they are ready to love. And I have felt that. It resonated with my experience of this congregation. And I would say that in my own life, I have been very receptive to love and also want to love others. And so I'm glad that you have experienced that.
I know we can't see you on the camera right now, but I've got tears in my eyes just from what you just said. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. What is most important to you when you first arrive? Now, you've been arriving in little pieces here now. What's most important to you?
Most important to me is to ask questions and listen and learn about the people here, both the people of the congregation and the people on the staff. And I understand that there's a lot of overlap between the two groups, which is wonderful. I want to be an accurate interpreter of this culture. It's a rich culture, and I want to be able to get into the details so that in this first year, I really am accurately, precisely understanding as much as I can about what makes this congregation tick, what values have endured over time and why, what commitments the congregation has, and how they operate, because they are a very highly functional set of people, and I want to know, how do we leverage that? What has made them operate so well up to now, and how can I learn from that and build on that?
I know it's important for you to go to some of the retirement communities, because I know today you're going to one, and my mother, who's in the medical wing of one you don't happen to be going to today, but looks forward to meeting you. And I know that our older population is very important to this congregation.
Yes. An older population is important to every congregation as far as I'm concerned. A church is a distinctive social institution in that it's multi-generational, not just 2 generations, but that it has more than 2 generations in it. Very rarely do we come across another institution like that. And the challenge is great, sometimes because of that, but that is also where the beauty lies. Whenever we can fit together into a coherent body more differences, I feel that we're doing the work of God.
Well, I know all 4 generations of my family look forward to getting to know you very well.
4 generations.
4 generations. The one over there, but 3 of us still here in this one, so yes.
Good.
What do you want to learn most about this congregation?
I want to learn the people. I want to learn the different gifts that people bring. I want to learn who thinks big and who is doggedly faithful. I want to learn who is a poet and who is a prophet. I want to learn who are the wise people, who can see the big picture and who can see the details. And then I want to learn more about how this congregation shares those gifts with one another, so that as a pastor, I can help shepherd that process. I also want to learn about what the traditions have been, because when we ask ourselves what endures over time, there's a lot of wisdom there to be found about human nature, about society, and about the work of the Spirit over time. So if we want to become a new creation, we have to always know what has endured over time and why. So what do we want to continue and appropriate for the future? And then we can also have a better sense of how we can be discriminating, what we can let go.
I wish you well on that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a fascinating process. I'm both emotionally and intellectually interested in that.
That's great.